Tonight, declared. Judy Desjardins is running to become chief of Blueberry River once again. Virtual inspections. The city of Dawson Creek getting creative. And 2025 Para Cup. Canada's captain says the team ready to go. Well, good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with the former chief of the Blueberry River First Nations announcing she will be running in the upcoming election. Judy Desjardins says elders and band members have encouraged her to run once again. Desjardins was removed as chief in September of last year. She acknowledged the division within the First Nation. Desjardins is pledging to make sure members are informed before decisions are made, not after. And she's also stressing the need for economic development for the First Nation. Desjardins wants to see Blueberry members benefit more from oil and gas contracts that have been signed by Blueberry River with energy companies. She has challenged her removal in federal court, and she's expecting that decision in the next month or so. The nominations to run close on December 3rd, but Desjardins says she believes some council members do not want her to run for chief. She cited a banned procedure that prevents individuals from running for council who are involved in litigation. And she points to the 4 current councillors who she says were found by a judge to have breached their duties and believes they should not be allowed to run. After not being able to hire a building inspector, the city of Dawson Creek is taking a new approach. The city announcing it'll transition to virtual building inspections. Now, the temporary move comes after a 4-month search to fill the building inspector's position. The city says residents can expect continued high-quality service. Officials add the change will help the city maintain inspection coverage, improve service consistency, and introduce new digital tools in order to make the building process easier and more efficient. Well, first responders on the front lines of BC's public health emergency are warning about a rise in overdose calls. They say it's due to a new contaminant that's endangered the drug supply in British Columbia. And as CTV's Isabella Zavarizzi reports, the drug is so strong, the antidote to revive people isn't working nearly as well as it normally does.
A few hours into a shift at this fire hall in Vancouver's downtown east side, and first responders have already been called to numerous overdoses.
The increase in obviously the total amount is unprecedented. We've never seen this number of them before. This 54 in a day is nothing like past events at all.
The outreach team at Union Gospel Mission, only a few blocks away, is experiencing the same thing.
3 overdoses every 3 days, sometimes multiple overdoses a day. It fluctuates, but it's been very hectic.
Health authorities say while overdoses are declining nationally, the recent uptick is blamed on a number of factors, including a contaminant called medetomidine.
It's very toxic, and it's used basically to sedate people while they have all kinds of tubes and stuff in them, getting, real intense procedures in the emergency department. So you can imagine if somebody takes some of that drug on the street, it's going to make them very sedated.
We're seeing it pop up at higher concentrations in the unregulated drug supply. So for many people, this might be the first time they've heard of medetomidine. It's a potent non-opioid veterinary sedative, and it's approximately 200 times more potent than xylazine.
Mixed with opioids, it can complicate how first responders reverse overdoses with naloxone.
Nothing will happen, or we might have somebody just stay down for a very long time. So it's very deadly, very dangerous.
Before, historically, people would kind of come up from an overdose kind of in a predictable way. Here, it seems like they're staying down for longer, kind of needing more resources, more time.
While the latest data from the BC Coroner's Service shows overdose deaths are declining, those on the front line say they want British Columbians to remember the human toll.
These are people that we spend every day with. They're people that have, families and stories and hopes and dreams. And so I just really want people to be able to say, okay, this is not some distant crisis. It isn't just a statistic. These are actual humans, and they matter immensely.
Isabella Zavarizzi, CTV News, Vancouver.
Well, an update now on the search for 3 grizzly bears that were involved in an attack on elementary school students and teachers near Bellabecula. On social media, the BC Conservation Officer Service said 2 additional bears have now been captured in the region. The bears are being assessed, and forensic evidence from last week's attack is being analyzed. The service says drones equipped with thermal cameras have been deployed to try and locate any bears believed to be involved in the attack. The 2 other bears were previously captured during the search for the Grizzly sow and her 2 cubs, which are believed to have attacked a group of 20 people while on a field trip. Any captured bears not linked to the attack will be relocated far away from the community. Now, the reaction to Thursday's agreement that could see a pipeline to BC's coast is rippling across Alberta. Today, oil and gas companies, along with ordinary Albertans, are weighing in. Here's Kathy Lee.
The message I'm hearing is that a lot of Albertans are happy about this memorandum of understanding.
Great for the economy.
If the MOU leads to building of major projects, whether it's the carbon capture or pipeline, that means thousands of jobs.
Some say they never expected a day would come where Ottawa and Alberta would show cooperation on a potential pipeline. This one would go from Alberta to BC and then to Asian markets. However, despite the optimism, there are questions about whether a pipeline will actually be built.
I'm not holding my breath on it.
Will we see it? I don't know, because they have to get private money to invest in it.
There needs to be a detailed path forward and actuality in what does a regulatory framework look like moving forward for investment to come back and confidence to come back for a proponent to step up.
The pipeline must also clear several conditions, including Indigenous approval and co-ownership, plus economic benefits for British Columbia. Alberta must also increase its industrial carbon price to help lower methane emissions and build the Pathways Alliance carbon capture project in exchange for Ottawa pausing its emissions cap and Alberta's clean electricity requirement and making an exemption to the federal tanker ban on the West Coast. The plan is for Alberta to submit its official pipeline application and route by July 1st. If it's approved, in the best case scenario, shovels could be in the ground by 2029.
Now, the pipeline agreement the Prime Minister struck with Alberta is coming with some risks for Mark Carney. Stephen Guilbeault, a key cabinet minister, has already resigned, and as Judy Trin reports, there could be even more blowback.
For a project like that to come to reality, you'd have to make sure that there is social acceptance, certainly if it's going to BC.
After 6 years in the Liberals' inner circle, Stephen Guilbeault quit as Minister of Culture, unable to stomach the Prime Minister's shift toward pipelines. Just hours after Mark Carney signed the Memorandum of Understanding with Alberta's Premier, Guilbeault resigned. He said several elements of the climate change action plan he worked on are about to be dismantled, including consumer carbon pricing, zero-emission vehicle standards, and the emissions cap on the oil and gas sectors.
I'll disagree with the characterization that we're rolling things back when we've actually committed to strengthening the industrial carbon price, strengthening methane regulations, extending the methane regulation.
Guilbeault will remain in caucus. Other Liberal MPs feel strongly about the environment. About 30 are part of a newly formed climate caucus.
He's dedicated his life to climate issues, and it's completely understandable that he would stand on that principle. Does that mean that there's a cancer spreading through the caucus? Absolutely not.
Guilbeault was also the Quebec lieutenant. Now Carney will have to find someone else to help him navigate the politics of La Belle Province.
Mark Carney is not a Quebecer. Mark Carney is not culturally, linguistically in the flow of Quebec. He relies on that Quebec lieutenant.
On social media, the Prime Minister thanks Stephen Guilbeault for his work in advancing sustainability. Mark Carney must now turn his attention to finding a new Minister of Canadian Culture. He could also use a vacancy for a cabinet shuffle. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Affordability was a hot topic as 5 candidates faced off in the first official NDP leadership debate last night.
Cost of living right now for Canadians is skyrocketing.
But we're getting squeezed while billionaires are cashing in.
Unless we start fixing our relationship with the first past the post electoral system, none of this will come to pass.
Rob Ashton, Tenille Johnston, Avi Lewis, Heather McPherson, and Tony McQuail all took to the stage in Montreal. And they tackled everything from winning back the working class, reconciliation, and building support in Quebec. The debate began with a plan to have 60% of it take place in French, but it ended up with most of the debate being wound up in English. The NDP will choose its next leader on March the 29th in Winnipeg during the party's annual convention. And the Canadian economy has avoided a technical recession. There was some surprising growth in the third quarter of this year, despite the onslaught of United States tariffs. And while there was 2.6% growth, the situation isn't exactly rosy. CTV's Abigail Beeman digs deeper into the numbers.
Hi, Ontario people. That's what we need to do, is support each other.
Some economists say gross domestic product growth is proof months of Buy Canadian ads and measures are working even with an unresolved trade war.
We saw imports drop 2.2%, which is a huge decline in the amount of foreign goods that we're consuming here in Canada. And that's really what helped to propel the economy forward, along with some increasing government spending.
Canada's real gross domestic product rose 2.6% on an annualized basis in the third quarter of 2025. Imports dropped 2.2% and exports climbed 0.2%.
This puts aside kind of the recession talks, or certainly the worries that we had about 2 negative quarters, but it doesn't really kind of take away the kind of, I should say, concern that we have around the economy still.
Statistics Canada says business investment was flat and household spending dropped slightly. The Prime Minister picks a positive spin and takes credit, posting the growth beats expectations and we're getting results.
At the surface, the data looks good, it's positive. But scratching beneath the surface, what you see is that there is some prudence. Consumers are prudent. You see that in the way they've increased their savings.
This economic snapshot comes ahead of the Bank of Canada's last interest rate decision of the year on December 10th. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Well, the discounting started early in the run-up to Black Friday today, with retailers hoping to convince Canadians to spend early and often. But this year, many people have prioritized purchasing Canadian goods, even if it costs a bit more. There are indications, however, the lure of low prices ahead of the holidays may lead to some rethinking that strategy. CTV's Andrew Johnson reports.
The decorations are up at Vancouver's Pacific Centre, whether shoppers are ready or not.
How's the budget this year? Are you spending more or less, the same?
I don't have one yet.
It's easy if you're spending someone else's money.
Are you planning to spend more money this year, less?
Yeah, I hope more.
How come?
Money of my boyfriend.
For many Canadians, it has been a year of careful spending and supporting local in the face of the U.S. trade war.
Buy Canadian is my priority.
Absolutely, I've been trying to buy Canadian.
But that isn't on everyone's radar.
Are you trying to buy Canadian or do you care?
I don't care.
One question now on Black Friday, featuring the biggest discounts of the year. Will saving money win out over patriotism? Analysts say it may.
Wallets are stretched, and so people who maybe were only buying Canadian, may be tempted, particularly for those big ticket items where there's a big gap between Canadian goods and perhaps US goods. They may be tempted to let their values rest just for a little bit.
There are indications that's happening already, not in the mall, but at the grocery store, where Canadians may be reverting back to their regular shopping habits. That's coming from the CEO of Loblaw, who recently said more shoppers are returning to U.S. products as prices have fallen, at a time of year that's not just crucial for retailers.
For us, it's about selective spending and making sure that you get value out of what you're spending your dollars on these days.
Dollars being pulled in many different directions at once. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
In Ontario, action is being taken against a lawyer accused of being connected to a global drug trafficking network, allegedly run by former Canadian Olympian Ryan Wedding. Deepak Paradkar was arrested last week. He's facing numerous charges in the United States, including that he advised Wedding the case against him would be dismissed if he murdered a key witness. Well, the Ontario Law Society now says it is seeking an order to have his license suspended or restricted, citing the serious criminal offenses. He's awaiting extradition proceedings. The charges have not been tested in a court of law. All right, please do stay tuned. I'll be right back after the break with a look at weekend weather.